Hello everyone, this vlog should be going out for Love Lamb Week. Now I was thinking what would be a good vlog for Love Lamb Week. I'm actually here back with Jack and Alison. If you guys have seen one of the first, it might even be the first technical video I did. We were with Jack and Alison last year and I was showing you guys how to collect dung samples for worm egg counts. Now I'm back with them again today because they are drawing lambs. And by drawing, I mean they're selecting some that are at the right weight and shape to be sold either live through a livestock mart or sold directly to an abattoir. I suspect it'll be the latter, but we'll find out. Now they're just trying to get them in. So I'm gonna go the other way around.
Yeah.
Deeks, man, come on.
Hey. Yeah.
Deek.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Here.
You warm, Deek? Okay, so we are here. We've got them in. As you saw, that was the first demonstration I think I've ever seen of a working Cocker Spaniel working sheep. So we're all about firsts here today. And the guys have got a real mix. You can see in the background, there's Easy Cares, Exelanas out of Easy Cares, Cheviot's, Hampshire's out of Blackies. Alison's just hiding behind the truck she doesn't want to be in.
And Suffolk's out of Swales.
And Suffolk's out of Swales and Blackies. So, a mixed bag. The motley crew, exactly. And I presume you guys, Jack, are you gonna just put your hands on them?
I'm going to weigh them and feel them.
Oh, you have got a weigh.
I'm just going to plug that in now.
Oh, so we have got weigh scales, great. And just shed off?
So if it's a Hampshire, it needs to be a bit heavier.
Okay.
And if it's an Easy Care or a Suffolk, it won't need to be as heavy.
Okay, because the Hampshire's got a bigger frame on them.
It's got a big head.
And just because we've got a little bit of veterinary stuff in, this sort of thing that farmers do all the time is a really good opportunity to get some treatments, either get some treatments into them or take some samples. So the guys are also taking some dung samples for gutworms, exactly, because there's a couple with mucky bums, but I'm not sure, Jack was saying, whether that's worms or clover.
Yeah, they're living mainly on red clover and chickadees, so there might be a bit.
So it's a very rich diet for them, and just like with people, rich diets can upset tummies slightly. So don't want to worm them unnecessarily. Waste of time, waste of product. So the Worm Egg Council confirm or deny whether there's a little bit of a high burden in them. Anyway, I will stop talking and we'll start going through them, presumably. Just before we get going as well, before I mentioned, in fact, you've seen some of these easy care lambs, you would have seen their mothers being scanned in another previous vlog. Here's the plan. Those sheep are meant to come through the gateway, across the road, through that gateway on the left. I'm stood in the road to make sure they don't turn down the wrong way. Of course, I go in to help, being the good bloke I am. We get them turned through the gateway. They go through. Magic. Of course, I'm not stood there, so they shoot down the road the wrong way. Jack zips past on the quad bike, heroically jumps over the hedge at one end and turns them, of course, about 10 feet before the gate. They see a hole in the hedge and go in the field that's just behind the camera. All sheep breeds have their strengths and all have weaknesses. And the easy cares.
Not just the easy cares.
It's not just the easy cares, sorry. I should, but would we be doing this without the easy cares is what I'm asking. But the easy cares are very vigorous sheep, right? They've got lots of energy. So these conventional height pens can't always contain that vigour. So this is our Heath Robinson setup.
And then the dog stands there.
And the dog stands here to stop them leaping over. It's okay if they get into there because that's enclosed, but this is the, yes, containment strategy. Anyway, just thought I'd show you that. The process of selecting lambs that are ready to be sold is relatively straightforward. Normally, two main aspects are considered: weight and fat cover. Weight can be measured by eye. Plenty of experienced shepherds would surprise you with their ability to estimate lamb weights. It can also be measured using weigh scales, the console of which is the yellow box you can see just behind Jack. Abattoirs often have a maximum carcass weight they pay to, which is often just north of 20 kilos. This would correlate to a live weight of around about 40 kilos or slightly more. Hence, 40 kilos is a common cut-off for selecting lambs, and farmers try not to let lambs get too heavy as they are effectively penalised for it. Fat cover is also important as buyers want a middle ground, i.e. not too lean and not too fat. Fat cover doesn't always correlate to weight. Think about some of the people you know. Some are programmed to lay down muscle and bone, others are more disposed to lay down fat. Selecting purely on weight, therefore, would risk sending lambs that are too lean or omitting lambs that are a little light but given time will only lay down more fat. Again, this would see the farmer penalised. Fat cover is measured relatively subjectively by feeling several points on the lamb's body. For those of you that would like to know more, I've put a link to a great booklet by AHDB in the video description. Once Jack finds a lamb that hits the target, he marks it with a red dot and drafts it off into a different pen. Now, the requirements are often slightly different if farmers are selling live through the mart versus dead through an abattoir. The consensus from most of the farmers I speak to is that heavier lambs tend to do better sold live, and perhaps the live trade is also a bit more forgiving when it comes to fatter lambs. There you go, well held.
29.
The Easy Cares are winning so far by a margin.
Easy cares are winning.
You got,
Show you the girls are quite good.
yeah.
It's going to keep raining. Jenny got her trap, well, Jenny's staying for the weekend and her one pair of trousers. And then yesterday where we drank the sea and then was sick on your lap on the way home.
Nice.
Well, when I pack for
For all you sheep fans out there, I know you've probably wondered what would happen if you crossed a Hampshire tup with a Herdwick ewe. Wonder no longer, because all these black ones, that's what they are. So there you go. I think they look a bit like Rylands.
I don't think.
I've just left Jack and Alison back at the pens. They've got plenty more to get on with. But before I go, I wanted to show you what they do for grazing. So they have this piece of land over here, and because what was here, the grass was pretty poor quality, they ploughed this field up and drilled a new mix, it's known as a herbal lay, into it. Have any of you guys out there with sheep, cattle, ever grown a herbal mix? If you have, let me know. Did you like it? Did it work? Did it not work? Why do you think that was? Just leave me a comment below the video. I'd be really interested to hear. In that herbal lay, Jack tells me there are 15 different plants. It's not just grass, certainly red clover, white clover, chicory, plantain, lots of good sources of protein, a great finishing mix for lambs. And this is sort of the middle of the field, this post, and they've quartered the field, and you can see quite nicely, this is where they are at the moment. That's where they were before that. That's where they were before that. And that's where they were before that. So you can see quite nicely that there's been good regrowth. So rotational grazing. They've really tidied this up before they are let onto this. I think this was put in by good fellows who are a big contracting firm locally. So it looks to have been a good success. And the lambs certainly seem to be doing well off it. It's easy to forget that as vets, we're not just trying to keep animals from being sick. That could be viewed as quite a negative outlook. We're also trying to keep them as healthy as possible and performing as highly as possible. That way, both the animal and the farmer win. So this is one way in which we do it. You've heard me bang on about it before. It's trying to grow really good forage so the animals are as fit and healthy as possible and perform. In this case, we're talking about lambs growing. For dairy cows, for example, it might be so they produce plenty of good quality milk. I'm going to show myself up here, but I think that's chicory. Now, chicory has been shown to have a mild anthelmintic effect, and by that I mean it seems to help lambs manage worm burdens. It won't do it entirely by itself, but it should reduce the need to use worming drugs. So every little helps. With a herbal mix like this, there are other benefits. Stewardship schemes often contribute to the costs because they're much better for the environment than, say, a monoculture of ryegrass. There's lots of different plants that support lots of different species, pollinators, especially like your bees. Another benefit of these legume-rich multi-species lays is that they are great at fixing nitrogen, so there'll be less artificial nitrogen needing to go on the pasture. That brings benefits like saving the farmer money, but also reducing the climate impact, reducing nitrogen runoff from artificial fertilizer. As far as I can see it, there are lots of benefits, and the lambs seem to be finishing very well. The lambs that Jack and Alison rear won't have been fed any concentrate at any point, neither will their mothers. It's all grazed grass or herbs like this. So how does this tie in to Love Lamb Week? Well, I think hopefully you've seen these lambs are reared extensively. They're outdoors, they're still well looked after. Lamb-like beef can be a really important part of a balanced diet. It provides lots of things in good quantity and quality, such as protein, vitamin B12, vitamin D. British lamb reared like this extensively, it creates really important habitats, especially when you consider the use of these slightly more novel pasture mixes. Great for pollinators, great for fixing nitrogen. And finally, something that's really important to remember, I think, especially if, like me, you grew up in the city, is that this sort of thing supports communities. And I don't just mean economically. Of course, the money you spend on British lamb will help the farmers. It will also help everyone who interacts with them, really. So that includes vets, that might be livestock marts, that might be tractor salesmen, agronomists, everyone, people in the meat trade. But also it supports communities, and on large swathes of our patch, sheep and cattle are really the lifeblood of rural communities. And I'm not anti-vegan. I think you can have a balanced diet without meat and fish in your diet. You have to be very careful about what you do, but people have their reasons, I understand that. But it's one of these nuances I think is easy to forget. Lamb, in most cases, is high quality, it's high welfare, it's environmentally positive, and importantly, it keeps communities going. Those are all really good reasons to include it as part of your diet. So, when you are at the shops, if you want to find yourself a food source that is high welfare, high quality in terms of protein and vitamins and minerals, environmentally positive, supports British rural communities, is grown with no to very little antibiotic use, then British lamb is of course the way to go, and it's delicious. So really you can't lose. That's me done on my soapbox. Jack and Alison still got plenty of lambs to draw. We'll see how they're getting on. So the guys are about halfway through, and this is the fat pen. This is the ones left to do. But it's quite a mix, and actually it's been interesting for me because the easy cares, they show you just how much the wool makes a difference on the hoof, because they don't necessarily look anything special, but they weigh much heavier than I thought they would anyway. So lots of easy cares in there, a couple of Cheviets, a couple of Hamps, a few Suftexes. When will they be going, Jack?
As soon as we find someone to come pick them up.
Cool.
Hopefully this week.
Yeah, so they should be going this week, just in time for Love Lamb Week. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave these guys to it, because I've subjected them to enough, and I'll see you next time.
Here.
You warm, Deke?